Hey everybody, it's Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today we're going to be painting from this gorgeous reference a scene of pumpkins and fall leaves and flowers. It's kind of an early fall floral before we get into our 13 days of Halloween. But depending on when you watch it, maybe you're watching this in a February sometime and it's like none of these dates mean anything. You're just like, I like pumpkins and I want to paint it.
Yep.
And how this basically works is I'm going to explain a thing and demonstrate a thing, and my husband, who is John over there,
Hello.
he's going to make sure that the camera is pointing at what I'm teaching. So as I'm explaining a technique, a tool, a color mix, anything, you're going to have a view of that. You're going to have a view of my palette as I'm mixing colors. You're going to have a view of my canvas from two angles, including zooms. As I am doing techniques or brushing things out, I will state every brush and color that I use. We'll go over the materials before we start. And the whole thing is really just designed to make it possible so that you, a beginner at home, can paint a version of this painting for yourself and learn all these techniques and enjoy this project, and at the end have something beautiful for your wall. Shall we go over the materials today, sir?
Sure.
Sir. John has been telling me dad jokes that have been hitting so weird. Like, I have not, like, I keep up, like, this is how ruined they are. I ask follow-up questions like, who's in the morgue? I don't understand what you're saying. So John might share some dad jokes with you, since I have clearly not gotten them at all today.
See, now you're going to put me on
We don't have to do one. I'm just saying that I don't think it's you. I think it's me, is what I'm trying to say. And I'm trying to say it in front of a bunch of strangers so you know how deeply I feel this. I don't think it's you. I think it's me. I think I'm not catching jokes today. I have an 11 by 14 surface. And I have dioxazine purple, quinacridone magenta, cad red medium, cad yellow medium. I have yellow ochre, phthalo green, phthalo blue, burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, Mars black, and titanium white. And I probably also will be using some of my gloss glazing liquid. For those of you that were so smart and showed up on today's live, you get to know that one of the incoming colors for this Halloween is going to be zinc white. Not for today. This is a sneak peek for those of you doing the 13 days of Halloween who like early information. This is the secret of very transparent gloss days. So we're going to be doing that too. Not today. 13 days of Halloween. If you come to live shows, sometimes you get early information. What do you think of that?
I think that's
It's
pretty
a
cool.
bonus. You know what I'm realizing? That monitor blocks this monitor. You guys will see me look here and look here. And what you guys need to know is that I have monitors of what you see, so I can see what's going out on YouTube.
Right.
And I know how the painting looks, like as we're, so I can color adjust for your screen at home, stuff like that. It's just a weird thing. So that's what I'm looking at, is all the screens of what you guys see at home. Shall we throw up a step?
I can.
I think what we're going to do is we're going to just paint this all in. Let's do something wild and paint it all in a light version of ultramarine blue, or just some little streaky version of it. So I'm going to put out a little bit of a wiggly line. This is not how you have to paint your canvas, by the way. This is a weird thing that I do.
Whoa. That's crazy.
What? My blue line?
The blue. It's just all.
Well, you're like, whoa! Like I'm.
Oh, I turned around and it was
So
like
you can
so
also
blue.
just brush blue out from your palette. I do this because I preserve my palette for the teaching part of the class, and I can just mist my canvas. You can see as I mist it, it's going like that, and then I can just take a big brush and brush it all out blue. I just want a coat of blue on the surface. Lots of ways to get it. This is just my funny way of putting out blue paint. You paint your canvas any way you want to. Ultramarine blue. It can be streaky. It can be messy. You just want to cover the surface.
So now it's like just blue.
Just blue.
Just paint it blue.
You can paint the sides if you want to, or not. You can also just frame your canvases.
Now, this is not a square canvas.
This is not a square canvas. This is an 11 by 14. Did we put up a step?
We did.
Okay.
We did step one.
And I did go over the colors, didn't I?
You did.
Okay. Wow. So what happened was, if you're wondering, like, gosh, Cinnamon, you seem a little off. I might be. I took an anxiety pill this morning because I was having a major panic attack and could not manage it. So I took one. And I have no idea how that's going to affect
thank
today.
you, Heather, and thank you, Gina.
Thank you. I have to go refresh.
Oh, it's okay. And I'll tell you. So, I was
so sorry if I'm weird.
Yeah, there were a bunch of morgue jokes that I was making earlier, and Cinema
Thank you, Gina.
just wasn't catching them. But
I think it might be the.
Well,
sorry,
do you know why the morgues are always square?
Why the morgue is always square, sir?
Because of all the corners.
I got that one.
Okay.
I'm okay. That's going to be my version of draw clock.
All right.
All right, let's dry this. I'm okay. I'm not going to go to sleep. I'm okay.
All right. So, yeah, guys. Good to see you all there. And oh, did you get the gesso canvas? Oh, no. These canvases are pre-gessoed, Shirley. And yes, they sound all scritchy, and that's because her mic thing is actually a little further away from her than normally it is, and that's why I had to adjust the sound up at the beginning of it too. So, but we like this because it makes the sound so you can really get the scritchy sounds of the canvas, and that's a normal thing. I think she was using a bristly brush. I'd have to go. I don't remember which one she was using now, but when you're painting that big surface, it really doesn't matter because you just want to get one all across, and you're just going so that's really awesome. Anyway. Oh, hey, Bug, thank you so much. Got another good dad joke in there. How does the pumpkin listen to Halloween music? The old gourds love it on the vinyl. Yep, I'm with that one. No, you're okay. I was just reading all of the...
I want to thank the Bug, and I want to thank Gina. I think it was Gina, and I see Tonya. And Heather C, thank you guys so much. Yeah, so total panic attack this morning, and it took a little anxiety medication.
Now, see,
and now I'm like, woo!
Normally I don't cover old ground twice, but for Amy, she stepped away.
She missed the joke.
She missed the joke.
I'm sorry you missed the joke, Amy.
It was, why are morgues square?
Mm-hmm.
And that's because of all the corners.
Oh, that's so silly.
So,
I'm going to take my T-square, because John is silly, and I'm going to grab a little bit of black, and I'm going to use the angle brush. And this is just so that I can kind of draw myself a straight line. The reason is that I'm going to be doing more of a bokeh background in this background above the line, and I don't want to have to do the bokeh work any lower than I have to. You know what I mean?
I do.
I'm going to come here and take a little bit of my burnt sienna and my ultramarine blue. And that is going to make a little blue-gray. And then I'm going to grab some white, and I'm going to let it be very streaky. And I'm going to just brush out a streaky, out of focus background with this color. My water is pretty light on it. Sometimes I will have more gray loaded on the brush, and sometimes I will have more white. The first part is just to get out this distant streaky effect. See how we're just getting that streak effect? So I'm going to load up with a bead of my white. Just building it up. Sometimes I'll add a little more gray. Just getting a little bit of the streaky background going. You can be streaky in your background, right?
Yeah.
You can handle it. I'm not pressing too hard. I know that there's a lot of layers, so a lot of times I won't panic if I get too much white out. I can also come back and take a little bit of my burnt sienna and my ultramarine blue. Make another little bit of blue-gray. I elect to do the blue-gray whenever I've got kind of a pumpkin or a lot of orange in a scene. You'll notice that this fall and through the holiday paintings. And the reason for that is that they're kind of contrasting colors, and that helps imply a bit of hue pop even as values are similar. So sometimes when the value isn't going to give me the difference, I can use hue to give me the difference. So I'm just using this 3/4 inch angle brush and just dragging across in a streaky way. So sometimes when we're painting, we're afraid to be streaky, right? But one of the things that acrylic paint does fairly well is do the streaky effect. That's one of the places that we get kind of a break with the medium, is in dry brushing. Dry brush is better than any other medium. Dry brushing just means that I don't have a lot of paint or water on the brush, and I'm allowing thin, dry applications to eke off my brush. See, again, I did burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. You're one of my guys, you know how to make the colors. You got all the grays, all the blacks, all of the primaries. Just going back and forth. Horizontal stroke, very light brushing. All right. Now I'm going to dry everything. I'm going to show you, come back and we're going to show you how I'm going to blend it. You're going to love this.
All right. So, yeah. Nice little, I really like that background. I like how the paint sort of breaks up across the surface and makes it, oh, I have to adjust that up there just a little bit. I love how it breaks up across the top of the surface and makes it just sort of, you can kind of see it from this other angle here. Really cool. It's just really kind of a neat surface. I don't know. Anyway, thoroughly dry it so that when you get to your next layer, because it's a little thick and you don't want it to like smudge or drag anything, especially around the edges. So focus there on the edges. Focus on getting the edges ready. You don't want anything to sneak up on you. So do that. And you can, where can you get a tongue paintbrush from? Like a number 2 tongue brush. You know, Lindsay, I think you can check on our website. I'm not sure if we have them up there yet.
What?
The tongue brushes. They were those. I'm not sure if we have them up there. Tongue.
Cat's tongue, what?
No. They're the wide brushes. Remember they used to, they're a
The
type.
hotkeys?
Nah, I guess they're kind of like hockey brushes. I guess.
I don't know what you're talking about.
There's these.
Maybe
I'm thinking of the wrong thing.
Just show me one, and then we'll like. Oh, and I want to send Brie a hug. I totally relate to how you feel, and I just want you to know that I read your comment, and I just sent you instant love when I saw it. So that I read it and heard it. I just was in the middle of doing this. All right. Shall we do another
Third step?
Now, what you saw me pour out was gloss glazing liquid. Again, this is not just a glazing liquid. It is a slow drying extender for acrylic colors, which means it improves blending and it lets you do all kinds of techniques easier. I'm going to take a little bit of my gray and my white and my glazing medium. And I'm going to go over my background that I already have. So it's the same mixing as before, all the same, but now I'm using the glazing medium, and you can see that that does start to blend and diffuse the background, doesn't it? Making it a little out of focus. Still streaky, still the effect, just a little out of focus. You know, you can always make your gray again, which is your burnt sienna, and your ultramarine blue, a little more blue, I think. A little more white on this mix and my glazing medium, and you can see that streaks right in, and it blends, doesn't it? It softens that wood effect so that we can get that effect of being in the background. It is really hard, guys, to get the softer diffused effects on acrylic paint. So if you're feeling frustrated, know that that is just a normal feeling. And then it's just about getting those right tools and the right number of layers in practice to get all the techniques. I'm just using my glazing medium. And that's so that some of that wood grain kind of shows underneath, doesn't it? Yeah. That does help, and it gives me a little extra longer to blend and soften my background. I can add a little white wherever I feel like I need it. I think that's a pretty good effect. Let's give that a dry. Try.
Let's try. And this is, I think it's 11. I think this is 11 by 14. It's 11 by 14. Yeah, it's 11 by 14. So, yeah, sorry, Joan. I hope that helps. Seeing what else I missed in chat here. Yeah, I like the sound of the brushes too. So that should just doing a quick drying on that. You can see that the color sheen is still not quite there, so it's not quite dry. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, because that's something you can do while you're kind of hanging out here. And you could also check out our website. Website has a bunch of cool stuff. It has like a calendar of events and things you can see. It has references. It has a list of materials and things. And you can even get materials there, because we have a web store there. We have a school there. So if you need more help with your learning support, we have that.
Takes a little bit longer to dry the surface when there's blending medium involved.
That's all right.
This stuff can slow your drying time down for hours and hours. So
hours and hours.
Dude, in acrylic, that's forever. I do whole paintings in hours and hours. I'm going to take a little bit of my black, and interestingly enough, some of my burnt sienna, just for under here. I'm going to make a very dark chocolatey brown for down here. We're really exaggerating the difference between our background and our foreground. I'm not using any blending medium. This is just the acrylic paint. The nice thing is we have so much still life in front of everything here that really it's all going to be quite covered. This like demarcation line will be gone. Now I'm going to come back over to my blue-gray, which is my burnt sienna, and my ultramarine blue. I'm going to grab a little white. Very lightly start to press out some green. Some green. The beginning of the green. This should give me a good place to start from, but I will want it dry so then the next layer can dry brush up on it. Dry brush it.
Dry brush it. Gotta. And that's. Yeah, it turns out pretty neat there. She just got that. I had to step away there because there was some mowing going on next door, so I had to close the windows. But they're closed now. And she may have to retape that. But it's good to see everybody here. Nice to chat with everybody. Nice to see Mary and Michelle and Amy and Lori. You guys all hanging out. I see you down there, Bree, Constance.
I'm still on my 3/4 inch angle Princeton Catalyst brush. Useful brush, isn't it?
It's a good brush.
Yeah, it does its little job. All right. I do have those on the website. If you're looking for the Princeton Catalyst, I have them there. So I don't know what the brush was earlier, but I do know we have that. I'm going to grab a little bit of my white and gray, and I'm going to make little light wood strokes. You can see it's just a very light dry brushing. If you're pressing too hard, this technique can get real hard to pull off. I've got to be able to let the paint sort of skip. And we're getting this nice rough surface. Now I'm going to get a little more brown into that mix. And I'm going to go ahead and make little short marks into this and blend them out. I'm just adding a little brown color to the up close wood. Go a little lighter here. Still letting it be very streaky. I can even get a little yellow ochre in that mix. But it's a very light, look how light I'm being with these colors. And I can mute back anything that I want. And this is a great place to practice this technique because you've got a lot of foreground that's going to be coming in front of it. So you won't be leaving that much kind of wood surface. See how letting the canvas pick up the paint also implies the texture of wood? I'm going to just rough patch in a little bit of grain here. Kind of at an angle. Just roughly painting in. So when I say roughly, what I'm doing is I'm not making smooth or precise or drug evenly out brush strokes, but I'm roughly using my brush. Where I'm going to have this little wood going. I'm going to roughly use my brush. I'm going to take a little bit of my burnt sienna and my phthalo green and maybe a little of my yellow ochre. I'm exaggerating a little molded effect right here in that little streak and just a little bit here. And that gives us a good base to work from. We can get everything else accomplished and painted on here, and then we can detail in more things as we rough it out. But to do the next part, for you to use the traceable or sketch along with me, you do need the surface to be dry. So we're going to dry the surface.
Dry it. So thank you, Ramona. We really do appreciate that. It's a cool. I like the sticker. We really appreciate you guys' support. Without that, we really couldn't do what we do. Everything we do here is because you guys help support us. You make the show go. You help us get the cameras that we have. We really appreciate it. And every day we're working to make this better and better and better. This is our life, love, and we appreciate this. It is as much as our calling as it is our work. So it's very gratifying to be able to do this. So I really appreciate that. Let's see, Kelly was asking, do we still sell Cinnamon's brushes? So Cinnamon has a new set of brushes that are coming soon. We'll talk about those in the future. But the old brushes we stopped. Those are stopped. They didn't make any more of those. That deal ended. We have new ones coming soon.
All right, we're going to sketch in loosely, my friends, loosely. We're going to be sketching in the background. I'm going to take a round brush. This is a Simply Simmons number 4 round, and I'm going to get some white paint. You can use chalk if you are drawing along with me, or if you have the traceable, you want to use it now, and you're going to want to follow my instructions for transferring an image onto a painted canvas from the traceable video where you use Ceril paper. All right, so we're going to say that there's a little bit of a area under here that has left pumpkin out, and I'm just sketching this loosely, like in white, very lightly. I'm not heavy with the paint over here because I know I've got to leave room for flowers and things. I'm going to sort of bring this over. Now, in the little sort of center here, I need to talk a bit about the stem, but to do that, I need to sketch the top. So I'm making the little rounded segments that I'm seeing. This one sort of ends here. I'll go up a little bit with my stem there. Then over here, I've got a bit of a leaf. And if we remember the different ways to do leaves, if I say that my center of the leaf is here, then I know I've got chicken feet, don't I? And these aren't even the hard to, like, they don't look like chicken feet no more. It really looks like chicken feet all the way. So I'm going to put that sketch there. And again, this is a very light sketch, and I may even lightly dry brush some of the yellow objects in white. And the reason for that is generally just for coverage. See how we're going? We're just duplicating what we see. Now there's a little flower here, so I'm going to go ahead and give myself an opening. Again, light sketching, just light sketching. I can take it out with the background color. Now I know I've got a leaf that'll come forward over some of this, so some of it I'm not going to really be able to do in detail. And there's no point in going over something when I know that there's going to be this basic radial shape here. So this is paint sketching. This is where I'm looking at my reference and then using paint, kind of sketching in where objects go. Here's this little interesting thistle here. Right there. And again, you can use the traceable. Just a loose little sketch in. Yeah, you just get a little bit in, and then I know I'm going to have some free leaves here.
Get a little.
So it's just, that's all I'm really doing to pull the little sketchy in, is just trying to make sure that that's a nice little thing I want to make sure I pay attention to. All right. So this is what I need to know to get my pumpkin and my leaves in, and then basically I will paint in my furthest objects back and then work on them coming forward. Let's call that a step. I could really use a coffee heat up.
We could do that.
And I need to catch up on my chat. Oh, yeah, I didn't miss this, says Diana. And Amy says, shoot, I have a question, but I don't know how to word it. Man, I have so many questions in my life that are like that. Should we call this a step, John?
I just did.
Okay. Let's go ahead and just lightly paint in a little more thoughtfully now the shape of our leaves with white paint. Now I'm going to really sort of think about how the leaf is kind of pointed and jaggedy.
I'll go get some coffee for you.
Oh, that would be great. And the reason I'm going to paint this in kind of white ahead of time is because, gosh, yellow and orange and all those colors sometimes really struggle. Oh, well. Thank you, babe. I'm going to come here and also kind of paint those little jaggedy edges. So we're just carefully painting in more of the spiky shape of the leaf. And if you want to make any of it go away, you can always come back with a little of the background color. See? So you can erase. Don't feel like you can't. The other thing I'm going to do is just very carefully dry brush a little bit of the white paint on my pumpkin. Not too much. I just want to make sure that my colors will show really well. Notice that this is pretty light. A lot of the canvas is showing underneath, and I don't got to worry about that. Paint really happens in layers. We're just going to find all of our layers and enjoy the painting process. Oh gosh, thank you. And then over here at the other little kind of white leaf, just rough edges. I don't really have to paint anything else white here. Kind of see that from both angles. It's just very streaky. It's hot messy. Don't worry about that part. We got to dry it, and then we'll start painting all this gorgeousness in.
Boy, talk about sliding in here just at the right time. Um, the yeah, I was away warming up coffee, so just sort of slid right in there. Are you there? You is this a step? Or
There's
is
a
this
step, and I just want to answer that this is doable in watercolor. AR Designs, Diana from AR Designs, is this doable in watercolor? Yes, I would first get out the main subject so that I could do a soft effect here, wet into wet, and then I would come and detail this out with more dry brushing, then remove the frisket, and then layer through these objects within the painting at the end. But in that way I could get a really dark, rich background with soft blending and stuff. Would be what I would do. You don't have to do that exact thing. That's just the thing that I might do. All right, I'm going to grab a big round brush. This is a number 8 Simply Simmons round. And it's got kind of a fluffy end, which is always super fun. And I'm going to take a little of my yellow, and I'm going to mix in a smidge of my red. And begin to sort of paint in this distant little leaf. And I'll definitely want to mix in a little green into that yellow orange. Start to blend some of that out. A little more green perhaps at the little leaf edge here. Just painting this all in. See, it's a yellow green that's like tipped with a little bit of orange.
So why are you doing them with the yellow as the undercolor?
The yellow green.
Yeah.
It's my lightest undercolor, and it will have the most trouble covering anything else. So it's best to bring it over the white first.
Oh.
I can come back and layer up.
This isn't part of 13 Days of Halloween, is it?
No, this is just because, all right, so I have a lot of people that do 13 Days of Halloween with me. Most of my community does. But a lot of my community, not every member of my community, but enough of members of my community where, you know, I try to make things fit for many, many community members. They don't do Halloween. Mm. And so what I do is I try to make sure that they have some autumn, you know, like you do.
Yeah.
And then through that autumn, I let them have a lot of projects. And then we do the 13 days of Halloween. And that's just when the autumn painters are just about done with those autumns. And then we go autumn again. Autumn. And that way we have plenty of time. I'm going to definitely brush up into what is my flower. Now I'm going to put a little red into the mix here. This gives me a little bit of orange, and that's lovely. Just going to brush the edge of these leaves. Brushing in, kind of brushing up. You still see some green kind of peeking through. Just a layer one. Blend back through. See, I'm coming back through. Just making sure my leaves have a little bit of anchor. A little bit up. Brush on the little edges here. The orange. Brushing on the little edges with the orange. You can see them flicking in, and that leaves an irregular edge. You can always come back into my yellow green. And blend those two little spaces in. So we have some nice coverage in the beginnings of a nice fall leaf. All right, let's call that a step.
It's a very nice step.
Just a steppy, steppy step. Now we're going to start working on some pumpkin step, which I'm going to start out with a little bit of my burnt sienna and my phthalo green.
Then just watch it on the big screen. I like on the big screen too.
And this is just a dark kind of value that we're going to put in. And then I'm going to add that dark little value. Just a little bit of the burnt sienna and the green. Too bad. Not too bad at all. Now I'm going to take a little of my cad yellow and my cad red, and I'm going to make an orange.
Oh.
It's just a start, but what it does do is give us a bright orange to work from, doesn't it? So what this technically is doing is what we would consider kind of almost an underpainting. So we're painting the base objects and their primary value or hue in very quick, loose ways, and then we come back with details and pull it all together.
I like how that green comes on top of there.
Yeah, it's just like getting some green in early on. We're getting some good pumpkin colors early on. And we haven't done any of the fun stuff yet, even. You can paint into your flower a bit.
Yeah.
You know you're going to come back over this. That's no problem. That's not bad.
Yeah.
Now let's dry everything.
Try everything.
Dry everything.
All right. I'm reading to this. Huh. Amethyst was asking, can we paint a clouded leopard someday? They are awesome, big, beautiful cats. I imagine that they are. We'll have to go check that out. I don't think I could bring one to mind. And when framing a panel painting, do you put it under glass?
No, you don't need to.
Don't need to.
You don't need to frame a panel. They do have panels that will take glass, but generally on a panel, especially if it's on a cradle board, you can just varnish and hang.
Okay.
In general, is traditionally what you would do. But yeah, you can put a panel under glass. If you're doing acrylic, though, you have to have a gap of air between the acrylic and the glass.
That makes sense.
So that's what matting and stuff is for. And you want to go to a framer if you're not sure.
That makes sense.
All right. I'm going to take a small number 0 D brush, and is my teeniest one. Also probably use a number 4, but it's a little soapy still, so.
A little soapy.
A little soapy still.
Let's get the next step up here.
Let's get that next step up, and let's paint some distant leaves, my friend. So I'm going to take a little bit of my cad red and my cad yellow, and I'm going to grab some green into it. Not enough to take it out of the orange, but enough to kind of tip it back a bit. Sometimes I might get a little more yellow, and I'll just dry brush this down. This is just very rough. Yes, I'm going to come back with veins. Sometimes it might be a little more gold than orange or green gold, and that's okay. I'm brushing up under here. Sorry to be so quiet.
Well, okay. Sometimes you get deep into the thought, but I like how the muddled color of that leaf just has some dimensionality to it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's really, we're just building up the dimensionality of the leaf. I'll get into my green every once in a while, and that will... Bring a little more orange in.
Oops.
And then if I want to get a little black into it, I can. Maybe that's a little more than I wanted, so I just add a little more red into it. Get a little glazing medium here.
I like the brown muddledness, the way that all those colors mix together to make that dimension.
Yeah, we're just glazing over it with just a little bit of a darker color, almost a localized color. So it's not just a shadow that's over it, it's a deeper, richer version of the colors that we see here. Just putting a little bit of thought into it.
Sure.
A little bit of my orange here. A little more orange. Yellow, orange. Just pulling that back in on the leaf. It's nice sometimes to just play with all the ways that you are painting an object. Gonna dry brush back here. And blending some of that in. A little more yellow here. Just kind of adding a little more spit and vinegar to it. Leveling her up a bit. Just a little more yellow. Creating a little drama. A little drama in your leaf. You know, you want a little drama in your leaf. You do want a little drama in your leaf. I'm going to take a number 6 Raphael sepia round. You could use the Art Sherpa number 4 round. I'm going to come here and add some more yellow to my palette because I have really whipped through my yellow.
Yeah.
And I expect to go through yellow and red a lot in this painting.
Especially in this one, yeah.
Yeah, just generally it's going to be a lot more than you would traditionally think. I may also put up some fluid white. This is just to help improve the opacity of a color and the flow. So this is golden fluid acrylic titanium white. I'm going to grab a little bit of my yellow green color that I had from earlier and smidge some white into it. Bring a little bit of blending around here. Little yellow and white. And then we'll also bring a little of it back here. Let's kind of tip out these little leaves a little bit. Just brushing that back. So you can see that's just another little layer of painting.
Yep. Just adding a little the veins in there.
Just a little bit of artful little details.
Elephants walking around upstairs.
There are elephants walking around upstairs. Who let the elephants in the house? And let's come over here and hit kind of a similar little vibe. Just putting these little veins back here, because you can. Just adding little veins. Adding some little tips to this. Gonna add a little more orange. Painting in a little more orange around. Just popping that up a bit. All right, let's have that have a little rest. And back to our pumpkin we go, my friends. Back to the pumpkin.
Back to the pumpkin.
All right, so I'm going to take a little bit of my Cad Red and my quinacridone magenta. And come along the bottom with this color. I'm going to grab some glazing medium and kind of blend it up. Going to wiggle it. I'm still on my number 8 brush. I'm just wiggling it through. Look at me wiggle it through. You can wiggle it through. We can all wiggle it through. So yeah, you can use a blending brush, and that is a very, very good thing to do. And I may switch to that, but I really liked putting it in with this. Now I'm going to grab a round number 12 blender. I'm going to get a little bit of my yellow and my red together. And I'm going to start to sort of blend out the slightly higher highlighteds on here. Yeah, and what we're going to be playing with is, you know, elements of pattern, where elements of pattern might be really super important. Like the little splatters that this is a natural effect this squash has. This is like what blows my mind though. This is like there can be squashes with like crazy effects. I could not make up my mind if like the base was a silk plant or not. Then I decided I like it the way it is, so I'm gonna come down here with a little bit of Cad Red, Quin Magenta, and let's get a smidge of our Diox Purple. kind of along that little flower. I'll wipe my brush off on my towel.
All right.
Get some glazing medium. Look at me blending that up. I love blending medium. It is a very useful thing to have. Glazing medium and my little shading color. Wipe off on a towel. And look, just blend, blend, blend. Isn't it amazing?
Really is how this all just sort of. Which brush was that one?
This is a number 12 round blender.
Now, where do you get the D brush? Julie was like, where do you get the D brushes?
You can get the D brushes from us. They are available online at different stores. There are some locations even in Canada that have them. If you're here in the contiguous United States, you can order from us on their store. We have $10 shipping. I don't know if that's relevant, but if that were. I like how that's starting to look. It's getting its good transitional spacing down. Let's give this a dry.
Right.
We haven't added shadows even to the ground or anything, so objects are just floating in space.
And as soon as we add the shadows, things will get grounded, as they say. So they'll start to look like they appear to be on the surface and not floating above it or, next to it, so to speak. And that'll come here in just this next step as we start to, as she said, get the grounding going. So give it a good thorough dry, and then you should be able to go on to the next step. After it's dry, we can go on to the next step.
We're going on to the next step. Isn't that exciting? I'm going to take a little bit of my burnt sienna and my phthalo green. And I'm going to come here and make sure that down these little spiky spikes is sort of a green modeling. Make sure it's also on my stem here. A little yellow ochre there. Feels like it needs a little. This is the number 0D. You could use a round. You don't have to use the D if you did not want to. I'm tapping up and down, kind of making like a little stippling effect. Tapping up and down, making a little stippling effect, as you do. As we do. Now I can come back in to my red and yellow. Kind of almost like a blend like into that orange. See what I'm saying? I'm gonna rinse that out. A little red and yellow there. Just blending that in.
Bill would like,
blending it in.
what kind of palette do you use to hold your paints there?
I use a Masterson Stay Wet palette. I really like it. I highly recommend it. I really do. It does help keep the paint from drying out too quickly on the artist, and it is a very useful tool, especially with acrylic. Come here with a little more yellow and red back into my orange. A little more yellow. Might go ahead and get some little green going here. A little more yellow into it. Just trying to make sure that we've got a nice blend coming down on our green. You can kind of see what I mean. Okay, let's call that a step. Continue on, switch to our round brush. I'm going to take a little bit of my white into my burnt sienna, phthalo green, a little cad yellow, and now a little yellow ochre. So I'm just trying to get kind of an off green. I'm going to go ahead and tap out some of these little ridges that are here. And we want to definitely work out our little stem. My very dark green at the bottom. A little highlight over here. Just giving it some personality, right?
So much personality.
A little bit of extra shading over here. That's too red. Just need a little more yellow into it. Just topping the little bit of the gourd a bit. Add a little bit of orange to a couple places on the stem. Just to make this all part of a similar little painting space. Now I'm going to want to take my yellow and a little bit of my red into my little brush here and get a little bit of white. And make some irregular spots, and then we will maybe splatter I just have some little yellow moments. Get a little bit of water, paint and stuff on my brush. Very close to the canvas, and to see if I can't get some splatters off of this without taking over the whole canvas. Now, you may need to take little paper towels to block yours off. I've been doing drops for a bit now. So my drop and erase game is pretty good.
Those turned out pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, and I can always come back and pull them up. You can also leave them out on the, if you want, but if you don't, you just come pick them up with a brush. And a little bit of a towel. Now let's dry everything.
Dry it all so the dots don't get, so you don't want the dots to get smeared. You want all of that to be nice and set in place. So make sure you dry it thoroughly there, and that will ensure that we don't smear any of the dots, because that's what you don't want, dot smearage. The last thing we want to do is smear the dots. So, yeah. Oh, and thank you, Kim. We appreciate you being here too. And man, I appreciate all of our mods. They really do make the world easy for you guys, and I appreciate that.
Super do. It's a true story. All right, I'm gonna use a little bit of my white and my orange color over here and some glazing medium. And I'm going to think about adding some white hot reflections on my pumpkin. I'm taking my number 12 brush and blending out this glaze. The glaze was a little bit of yellow into my white paint and a lot of glazing medium, and you can see that we're starting to think about creating a bit of a highlight. I need to blend these things out while they are still, you know, still very wet. Need a little more white. So I'm just kind of almost creating a ducky yellow, and then I kind of can come in with a bit of a yellow, can't I? Maybe a little bit right here. These are little glazes.
Do you have a favorite subject to paint?
Horses. My favorite to just, like, I enjoy that. I enjoy fantasy. I enjoy, like, creating, like, little fantasy works. It's always fun for me. Add a little more yellow to that. And you can see that that's just adding some brightness to it. And I'm using the brush to make sure it's blended out. And we're just blending that out again. A little glazing medium and blending medium just to make this little area a little lighter. But you can see that does create highlights. Yeah. It's a different way of doing that. And also come back with a little bit of yellow and glaze on my brush. Glaze a little bit of what's happening on here as well. While I'm having this whole moment here, I'm going to take a little bit of my black and ultramarine blue and my glaze. Kind of come underneath this pumpkin. and along that leaf. And now I'm going to blend out that shadow. Kind of up the pumpkin too. Under where that flower is going to be. And you see how the glaze is darkening the underside of that pumpkin? Just lightly dusting it so that I have just a hint, man. Just the hint. I'll sort of tap up an extra bit of shadow here. So see how I'm into just a thin application of my black and ultramarine blue? And you can see that it's a thin, 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 thin application. Just stippling my brush up and down, and then I'm going to soften it ever so gently. Going to also come across here, a bit of a shadow. But this is a glaze, right? So this just comes right across the leaf and glazes over the colors that are already there. And this is just adding a shadow under. Didn't mean to take my little tip away there. Now I'm going to come underneath with a little black. They're really darkening that, anchoring that down.
You just add more texture details
Just
to
adding
those.
a little more depth
So
to
you
the
can't
shadow.
see it on the angle because it's so shiny.
Yeah, you can only
see
sort of see it overhead.
Yeah. That's what,
Just feathering that out, and then I will come back with my blending brush and make sure that that is just as softened as I can make it.
the shadow really does ground it quite a bit.
Yeah, you need to have a shadow to...
Do you have a favorite painting ever? Lindsay asks.
Man, that changes all the time. All the time. I think it's like... I really liked my leaf recently with water drops. That was really enjoyable to me. Now I'm going to have leaves in front of some of this. We're going to have some different stuff happening here. So it's super important that I keep that in mind as I'm painting, that there's more coming. I'll grab a little bit more white and little bit of texture there. Tap some of that out. Sometimes it's nice to add a little bit of light green color. A little freckling to the gourd. I like to add a little freckling to the gourd, my friends. The gourd needs some light green, yellowy freckling.
There's a country band named the Gourds.
Is there?
Mm-hmm. They did some really interesting cover of
I'm going to add a little bit of
hip hop music.
Green to this.
They did a cover of like a couple of Snoop songs.
Just trying to make sure there's a nice green. So I'm enjoying that so far as it goes in my...
Now, your Stay Wet palette there, Bill, you've got his attention. Is it use paper, glass? How does it work?
It uses what I believe is stone paper. It's a proprietary paper that they don't release the formulation on. But if I were to guess anything, it's stone paper. Because while I do use new sheets, so you guys can see the color mixes clearly when you go out, you can actually scrape the paint off of these that's unused, that you don't want to use, put it in a paper towel to dry out, so you're capturing the solids, and then just rinse this out. Now I'm going to take a little bit of my light gray, which was my burnt sienna and ultramarine blue and white. I'm going to add a little bit of light graining here. I want to just add to the graining. Just a bit. Sometimes you'll find you just kind of want to do that. You're like, I'm going to add to the graining just a bit. And that's just because it gives you a nice effect. All right, let's call that a step. And I'm going to start getting into my other stuff. Now, I'm going to take my phthalo green and burnt sienna together. And I think I'm going to wander out a line kind of coming up here. One here. And one there. And I'm going to paint kind of little spiky out leaves. This is, I believe this is an asparagus fern, is my best guess to what was used. So first I paint the trajectory of the leaves and what makes the mass of the leaves. And then I'll paint like little individual moments of leaves.
Moments.
Right, so I'm making little short brush strokes with my number 6 Raphael Sepia Round, burnt sienna, ultramarine green. I mean, not ultramarine, burnt sienna phthalo green. Once I have that base green in, I'm going to grab a little bit of yellow. Put out some more yellow. And grab some burnt sienna. It kind of takes it into more of a green gold. You can see that. We're just going to highlight some of what we have here. Just a little bit of popping highlights. To go back and put that other green back. Making sure that the leaves, you know, kind of go a bunch of different ways and feel spiky.
Spiky. Now they're getting a little dimension.
Yeah, just get a little bit. I need to fill that out a bit. So back into the burnt sienna and phthalo green, because that's what that needs. Maybe a little white onto here. Little highlights. I do these shorter here so that it changes the perspective of that branch coming at us. Just light little tiny brush strokes.
Just come to life in the darkness.
Okay, maybe overly chilled for today.
I like it.
You like it? You like my chilled nature?
I like that chill. It's coming out nice.
All right, let's dry everything. Or
good. I like how the that just comes together there with the you have to have the darkness in there before you can put the next layers on there to get the highlights to build up like that. And it really just it's one of the magical things about acrylic is how it does that. I just really like how acrylic does this.
Yeah, I do too. A little
There's
yellow.
Next step.
Put out some more cad yellow, guys. Now, another thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to hit some highlights here. I'm going to take some of my white. I'll get some glazy medium so it's nice. I'm going to use this brush to sort of stipple this up and down. So notice that these get smaller as they come back.
I do notice that.
You know, kind of glaze. So I want it to feel like there's a central focus of light and then light diffuses out a bit. That's what I'm working on here with this brush. It's just putting it down and then diffusing it out. There we go. That's some nice reflections.
That is a nice reflection.
Those are lovely reflections.
It's very lovely.
Nice, nice. I'm going to take my round brush and take a little bit of my cad yellow and cad red together. And then the weirdest smidge of purple. And I'm going to begin what will be the button center for this and probably this. Even though I will be changing the color up some. I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit of my quinacridone and Doc's purple.
Yeah.
Now I know I'm going to put some of these green leaves over the front of this area.
Well, that's a much purplier flower.
It's going to be. Now we're going to take a little bit of white. We've mixed magenta in. And I'm going to pull back a nice brush stroke. This is again with my number 6 round, just a nice round brush. Brush that back into the purple, just as a start. I'm going to brush that back into the dark purple. So this is an area where we tend to be different than how we might paint it in acrylic, in watercolor, right? Because we're doing such dark values. To start our purple. And again, we know we're going to have green on top of this. So you don't want to do the best petal you've ever done of your life right now on something that's going to have a lot disappear. We know we're going to lose a lot to this flower. So we're definitely going to want to bring some of that purple forward, even though that isn't necessarily where our petal will be. That one will be here, and this one will be there. So we just want to know where it is. Now, I just got to get the underpainting in on this, and then I can come back and add highlights and dimensionality. But I want that starting place. So I'm going to dry it, and then we come back and do the next step.
So yeah, this is you got to get the underpainting of your flowers in, just like you got the underpainting of the background, the underpainting of the gourd, and yeah. So next will be the flower bits. And it's looking really neat. Looking over here back in the in the chat. So nice to see everybody in here, and it is good to say hello again. Oh, she's back. And you're back.
And we're back. We're going to put out some more white because we're running low on it. Oh, there it is on my... Got our fluid white. We've got glazing medium. We might need more glazing medium. Depends on how we go. I'm going to keep kind of working my round brush here. I'm going to go ahead and add a lot more white to this magenta. Come back with little strokes that do show some of the dark underneath. Can you see how we're showing some of the dark underneath? Mm-hmm. magenta back. Just a little more coming forward. Just little bits at a time. Continue to dry brush this back in the direction that the petal would grow. And we're, you know, exaggerating some of the values.
Now you're not using any glazing in there?
No. The transparency of the magenta is probably playing a little bit in my favor. And go a little more white. Just brushing back. And again, we're going to remember not to do the best work we've ever done in our lives on these petals because we have to layer another layer of green.
Yeah, there's lots of
over this. So we want it to look like it's part of the painting that we've done so far, for sure, but it isn't where we have to just really, really wear ourselves out. I'm going to do a little more magenta here. Let's get a little more white going. Brushing that forward. I can always get back into this little purple down here. Tapping, tapping. Exaggerate our reference a bit. Just brushing out a bit of shading. We just want a little bit of that exaggeration, right? Very light color. A little yellow gunning on that one, but I don't mind. See how we're building up bridges on the flower?
flowers have ridges.
These do. Cosmos do. A little yellow got into that last pink mix. And I decided that I actually like it, so I'm leaving it. That one we're going to foreshorten and shade a little bit, but again, we know we've got green leaves going in front of a few of these, coming forward, so we don't want to get out of that. Now I'm going to get some just magenta on my brush. A little white. So this is me just playing with the petals. But it's nice, isn't it? It just gives a lot of dimensionality.
It really does. Creates a lot more depth.
It does. Okay, let us call that a step. And we're going to grab a little bit of my yellow, maybe with a smidge of green. That seems like a lot, but I'm gonna. Are we on a new step?
Yep.
Okay. While this is all having a little moment here, I'm going to come back into my phthalo green and burnt sienna. Can add some gotten a little enthusiastic with my bush. And that's okay.
That's okay. It's a shrubbery.
It's a shrubbery. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow to my mix. It's going to have a little dry before I add the next value. And while it's having a little dry before I add the next value, I'm going to grab a little bit of my yellow and my white. I'm going to tap around, highlight in this flower. It's a nice little highlight, isn't it? Grab a little white and a little yellow.
I like that color combination.
Yeah, plays well against each other.
It is.
All right. Good, good, good.
Call
We're
it
going
good,
to
good.
dry everything.
Dry it.
Dry it. Pick up brush we've dropped on floor.
All right. That's all right. Okay, thoroughly dry it, and then we'll go on to the next step. We'll get that next step ready for us. There it is. Won't take but a moment there for her to finish that up. Good to see everybody back here again. Good to see everybody chatting. Sorry if it's having a little buffering issue. That can be a thing that happens on a September afternoon. All right. Let's see if I got my next steps loaded right.
Yeah, let's see if you did that.
Oh, look at that.
All right, I'm going to take a little bit of my quinacridone and my cad red. This is going to be weird to do. The reason this is for me a little weird to do is because the center is so light. And I've got to figure out how to reveal that light center. I'm also going to just make sure that I've got a bit of a radial coming out, so when I put in my spikes, I can see it. So if you made a little triangle around that and have that light coming in. So again, quinacridone magenta. And I'm just starting that first layer of this in. Okay, now I'm going to get a little of my purple. Just a smidge, just the tips to show the sharp little point of that. Just the tip. I'm going to layer in some deeper layers. It's a weird flower to paint. I'm going to tell you just right off the bat. It's a strange little dried flower.
Yeah.
I'm going to come here and sort of paint out my center. I'm taking a little white back through. Okay, I'm going.
Yeah.
Just gonna go for it, and go for it, and go for it. Little white. Putting a little range of color around. I think I will dry that just real quick. I'm not going to worry about it till I paint the next one, and then I'm going to see between these two where I want to do my touch-ups.
So yeah, just give it a quick dry there. We'll go on to another step here, and just give that a little bit of a whirl. I really like how this is coming together. These colors are really fantastic, I think.
All right.
All right.
I'm going to grab a little bit of my white and pink here.
Oh, wrong button there.
And I'm going to
I'll give you a new step.
flick from the outer ends of this. Maybe a little more pink than that, and I'll come back. That way I have shading. Just kind of rotating around here. While it's having a little dry think. And come back in with a little bit of my red here. Just make sure that this is looking good. And I'm going to grab some of my deep purple. Kind of paint some of those little tips there. And grab a little bit of my yellow. It's okay that it's got some orange on it. Gonna add a little bit of a center there. Now I'm gonna grab some of my white into my pink, but I'm gonna make like a really light color, still my number 6 round. Gonna make some little highlights on these. Paint a very full flower. Gonna grab some of that yellow and white from earlier. Is it back?
I'm working. Let's see. I think we're back.
Okay.
I think it's back.
We think it's back?
It's working. Oh, yeah. Excellent
excellent.
connection. So it went beep, 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 beep. It jumped. So I'm not sure where it beeped everyone.
So sorry about the bedeep.
It's beeped.
I'm
not sure even what caused the beep.
I'm going to make some of my shadow color, and I'm going to use some of my glazing medium. That the shadow color, if you remember, was Ultramarine Blue and Mars Black. I just want to make sure that some of this shadow kind of reflects the shape of it. Some of this shadow kind of reflects the shape of, see how we're doing with the plants that we've got here? Just running some of that shading, again, which is Phthalo Blue and Mars Black and Glazing Medium. But I don't want any white in it. Kind of glaze this a little bit in shadow. And glaze this a little bit in the shadow. Sometimes, you know, you can just kind of come in here and nudge it. It really helps to know where you can push objects back and let them be forward. I'm pushing that back a little bit. Again, this is such a thin glaze, right? So it just, this is another way to create depth. I'm going to add a little bit of a shadow back here as well. Pick up a little glazy medium. See where that just starts to push it back? And I can even kind of glaze this back. So by choosing to put some things in shadow and some things in light, we change their placement within the surface. Going to add a little bit of a purple counter glaze down here just to shade that. And then I might come back with like a little bit of black just to glaze some of this a little more. This is what's nice about studying something, when you can create your own still life, right? Where you light your own, you go get your own favorite flowers and your own favorite squash, and then you light it and you can observe it. One of the things that you can do is play with these things, you know, even on the surface. Mm-hmm. You know. All right, let's take a look at it overhead. I think I'm going to want
overhead.
Come back and add some little detailing here. See how I'm doing? That creates another kind of layer of dimensionality.
The final layer of dimensionality.
Sometimes you just play and play and play with things until you are happy with how they are.
Right.
And then I might come and get a little bit of my yellow ochre into my gray. Maybe a little more highlights on my wood. Take a little bit of a round and make sure that there's a little hot spot on my reflection there. Tapping that up and down. That's just the bright highlight of the light. No, I'm liking this.
Yeah, I like it.
I can't really see it at the angle. Let me see it at the overhead. Sorry.
That's okay.
All right. The camera just blocks about 2/3 of my view. That's why I'm not. So what it is that I have monitors that let me see the painting from a distance, and sometimes like I will be looking and the monitor will like the new monitor is blocking my view of the other monitor.
Yep.
So that's a thing that can happen. I'm going to add a little bit of shadow here. So again, you want to just play with things and make sure that you've got the type of dimensional space that you want. I feel like today was a good class day.
I do. I like this one.
I'm going to take my fluid and I'm going to come over to my gray paint, make a light gray. I'm going to use a #1 detail brush and I'm going to put the little signature here. I tend to pick colors that are in the painting on a signature so that the signature doesn't become the whole focal point of the painting. Just a thoughtful thing you can do. Oh my goodness. So I know we've got a lot to do, but John is still
Man,
like...
this is so good. I really love how this turned out.
I did too. Thank you guys for hanging in with me on this and doing this fun still life. We've got our cute puppers next week holding a leaf, and then there's a teapot, and then we're into Halloween. I am doing up designs right now. I'm, just doing everything to get it ready. I think you guys are going to love it. It's going to be a good year. I'm sorry I'm a little bit low energy right now. I think that pill hit me hard.
I think you're pretty good. Everyone thinks this was amazing.
Oh,
this is really, everybody loved this. This was great.
There's just nothing like, finding out how something's going to hit you in a live stream.
No kidding, right?
We are going to do the thing where we showcase viewers. We just have to get it a little bit more planned right now, and we're stretched a little
We're still
thin.
catching up.
But that is something. So if you want to submit a finished painting from a tutorial, we'll have like a big catch-up episode as soon as we get ready to do it. John's just got to fix a thing on importing them.
A thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to say it's a thing. I don't actually know. It feels like that's what you said. There was something to import, so that was like kind of good. I hope you enjoyed painting this today. I enjoyed spending this time with you. I cannot wait to see you again. I want you to be good to yourselves and good to each other, and I will see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.